final year project with a prof. You will know after a point which of these your prof is. And you will have to tailor it according to that. If you give him the opposite presentation, he's not going to be happy. Right? But the whole point is that in a big presentation like this one, where I have 50 people, right, of different kinds, it needs to have a mix of everything. It needs to have detail, it needs to have headline, it needs to have positivity, right? And it needs to make sure that people are happy. See what I'm saying? So this is extremely important. Like I can't tell you, again, the principle is it's not about me. Who is it about? Exactly. This is my audience. You need to make sure it's tailored to the audience. Now, as a gift, what we will do is we will give you a little sheet, little thing that you can fold in your wallet. That's something you can take home and refer to before every presentation, right? So you don't have to worry about this framework. Now, 3 things I'd love for you to take away. What's the most important thing? I have no control over this. As you can see, you take away something. You know, I don't know what you've taken away. But I'd love for you to remember that one, talk is cheap. Communication is beyond that. As you've realized today, right? Communication is also you guys listening. That is true communication. The communication is not somebody giving their self-introduction, right? And what you also realize is the better listeners you are, the more confident the person is on top. You know, the moment you start talking, you all been up there, right? You see your audience talking and you're like, oops, am I not saying something fun? You know, there's 100 things going on. Next thing is practice like a madman. Right? And then debrief, and practice like a mad woman, and then debrief. You see, one of the most important things is we focused here on the approach. The approach here should be similar, right? Remember, we did 3 rounds of doing this, right? 3 rounds. You started, actually 4 rounds. You started by first listing what a good self-introduction is. Then we said, take a shot. So that was 1 round. Then you already look at Steve Jobs, and then you do another round. Then you look at Simon, and then you do another round. But you see, essentially, this is, and 3 rounds later, we're still at a 6 on 10. This is how hard practically it is. You need to do this 200 times before you're confident enough to do this. And let me also tell you, right, this is not natural born talent. A lot of people have natural born talent for engaging people, right? Some people have talent for facilitation. That's fine. But you know, public speaking is not about natural born talent. It is about a lot of practice. You know, I have done 50 such seminars, which is why it's easy for me to come here and be all cool and confident, right? But it wasn't like this the first time, right? The first time, actually, what you also realize is when you first start speaking, it's all about you. So my first presentation was 50 slides, me going slide after slide after slide, right? What is the assumption? The assumption is that I know and I should teach you. But what you realize here is that you guys know much more than you think. And especially as a collective group, you guys know much more. In fact, you know, if you look at my self-introduction, you all did it in some form or the other. You all talked about how you can help people. You all talked about focusing on your names. You all told wonderful little stories, right? Like pastor story, sailor story. But you see, you all know. The question is, how can you put this together in a beautiful structure that you can use? Yeah? But the key, again, is practice. Almost everybody had it in there. How can we make it a 10, right? You got to practice. Third thing, this, if all you get is this, and that's fine, right? It's not about you, it's about your audience. All that matters. It doesn't matter what you have to say. It matters what they're going to get out of it. And if you can find a way to communicate, if you have to dance, then dance. But communicate your point, right? That's the key. So, let's go back. Now, these were your expectations. Now, you're going to have to help me understand. Some of you here, how many of you here put somewhere in the conquer, fear, build confidence bucket? Is anybody who had that expectations in your objectives? Okay, couple of you. So help me understand, right? All I'm trying to understand is, do you know of an approach where you can probably work towards building confidence before your next presentation? Do you know roughly a couple of things that you would do? Do you feel like you've learned that, the two of you?
Practice.
Yeah, go. Okay, so you know.
Engage the audience.
Okay, good. That's all. I just need to know if you know of an approach, right? This is the teaching you how to fish, right? I can't give you a fish. Pick content, deliver message. How many of you remember saying something like that? Had an expectation. Okay, one. Funny. Nobody raises their hands when you have to. Okay, but do you have a sense of how you can do it next time?
Yeah. We should know what the audience expects and cater to their, as in to the right audience, deliver the right message to the right audience.
Good. Guys, keep in mind, people think, right, that the hard work is coming here and talking in front of you. this is not the hard work. The hard work was done 20 hours before this. It was somebody thinking to make sure that we understand why you guys are coming here. Somebody making sure that you go through that and figure out why you guys are coming here. And somebody figuring out that, okay, you guys are coming here for all this, how can we give you the best experience? That is the hard work. The hard work is not in coming here and blah, blah, blahing, right? That's why EB, for example, gets a lot of the credit because he sat down and did a lot of the thinking with me. So you see, the hard work is not this. The hard work is actually what lies behind. So it's a very good point. You've got to gain expectation. Good. Who's next? Gain experience, gain exposure. How many of you said that? You did. Did you gain experience, gain exposure? You did, right? Realistically. Okay, good. 14 of you said how to impress, make it powerful. I expect a bunch of you who wanted to know that. Okay, quite a few of you. Can you guys tell me if you learned or at least figured out something?
Especially the videos show.
Especially the videos. Okay, good. What about you?
In how to impress and make it powerful, you have to actually, like what she said, you have to actually cater to the audience and you have to understand what the audience is and cater your content specifically to it. So if you do not do appropriately, it will not be powerful. So that's one.
Cool. Yeah. No, there's a lot, right? This is a PhD thesis in itself, right? This is a PhD thesis on everything. So this is a PhD thesis on it as well. Cool. I heard these. So this is sort of what we tried to put in, but this is not so relevant at this point. The 3 principles I committed to: you shall be taught how to fish. I tried doing that. I tried not to give you specific feedback, but more on the approach. You're a good judge. You can leave it in the feedback form if I thought you were not. And then you should focus on learning the approach, which I think was the whole thing, right? What I want you to understand is what you learn may not necessarily have been told on a slide. Go back home and think about it. But you might have learned something from the whole experience. Right? Think about the experience in itself. Another thing that you want to take note is if you were in a low energy group, right? There were some high energy groups visibly and some low energy groups. That is also a lot to do with presentation. A lot. In fact, more to do with presentation than anything else. Think about it. This I should ask you. Did you have a fun interactive learning session?
Yes.
Okay, not so fun. That's good to know. Cool. Your feedback. Now, what I want. Okay, don't jump in. Hang on. We'll come back to this. You'll get a gift before you go. That's important. EB, are you the man in charge? Yeah. So can you actually give it to Nisha? So you see the guy in green? He has your gift. Okay? He's going to give it to you in a minute. So make sure you collect your gift before you go. This is something I want you to fold in your wallet. It also has the sort of the principles. And remember this one quote. This is what I remember every time. It usually takes more than 3 weeks to prepare a good impromptu speech. Right? Just remember that. Never is any good speech impromptu. It has been prepared. Cool. So that's your gift. Now, 2 things. Staying in touch in presentation slides. Now, you see this red, blue, yellow, green, right? What I do actually with this not-for-profit that I'm with is we try and circulate every Monday. We call it a Monday learning. We have little strategies like this. It's not necessarily for presentation. It's sometimes for life, sometimes for work, sometimes for study, right? But we have little things like this. This is called a framework, right? So we have many more frameworks, many more stories. The idea is something that we do every week. This is something I use to stay in touch with people I want to stay in touch with. And if you guys would love to stay in touch, I would love to stay in touch as well. What I will do is we have left 2 computers there. You can enter your email address, and I would be happy to stay in touch with you, right? And let me know. The other thing is presentation slides. Again, there are 2 columns. There's one called Monday Learning, which is for this learning email if you would like to receive it. The other is if you want to also receive a note as soon as the slides are up, I will also do that. It will be up on my blog along with a video of most of the sessions, so you guys can see it in the future if necessary. But essentially that will be all. Cool. And after this, of course, I need you to go and fill your feedback form and give. So you have a bunch of activity going on there, right? One last thing. At least I'm learning something. Suggested viewing. You will see this for the ones who asked for the slides. You will see it. But this video is what we saw, right? It's called Simon Sinek, How Great Leaders Inspire. It's a TED Talk. How many of you have heard of TED? Raise your hands. TED or TED, you should Google it. You will find a lot of very inspiring talks. So This is the TED Talk. How to present like Steve Jobs, the Peanut video on YouTube which we saw. Must watch. One of the best presentations ever is, right? Steve Jobs speech at Stanford. This is an example of a great presentation, guys. It's a guy called Benjamin Zander on music and passion. It's also a TED Talk. You know, when I send you whenever you see the slides, you can copy paste this and see it. The key thing about this guy is he's presenting music, but it is as good a presentation as you will ever see. It's just interesting, right? Basically, it's amazing how everything is a presentation. Suggested reading. Now, for those of you who like this, right? So who like reading, I listen to books on Audible. It's called audiobooks. But for those of you who like reading, listening to books, there are a lot of sales books by Brian Tracy, Jeffrey Gitomer. These are sales gurus. The reason I say look at or read these sales books is a lot of it is focused on sales presentations. And that's something that may be relevant to you, right? It's, you know, as you figure out, it's like you're selling yourself in a weird way, right? So if you go on an interview, you're trying to sell yourself. There's a bunch of books by Dale Carnegie, also worth looking at. And then, of course, before you do your presentations, there's a very famous website called Presentation Zen. So this is pretty much the material, and obviously I'll send it to you. And the other one is search on Google, right? Which is sort of the most obvious and simple. So guys, I'll leave you to do your thing. Remember, you got to do your feedback. You got to input your email address there, and you got to get your gift. Thank you so much. It's been great. Give yourself a big hand. And I'll leave it to you. If you have any questions, if you have anything, feel free to approach me as well. I'm here for 10 minutes.